August meeting of Piedmont City Council, June 18th, 2025 to order. Citizens' remarks. Joe, Krista? Kurt? Ann? Okay.
I have two.
Okay.
There is a gentleman up on Harrison Street, I don't know his name, but he goes up past our house, times 60, 70, 15 miles an hour. He gets up to the corner on Harrison, cuts the same on his brakes, and picks up again and goes up to the end of, it would be Harrison and Fisher Street. So, what can we do? What can I do? Do I go to the state police? Do I go to the sheriff? Do I go to our local cop? What? But it's going to stop.
Probably,
Has to. He's going
probably
to kill
sheriff.
somebody.
Yeah.
My other complaint is, down on the corner of Gordon and Fairview, there is a gentleman who has a boat park there. And I almost hit a little boy the other day because he was on his bike. I could not see him past the boat. And it sits right there on the corner as you come down.
Would that be Jeff Wells's place?
Yes, well,
I don't know who it is.
is the boat on the sidewalk?
No, it's not.
No.
It's on the
No,
side,
it's
it's
not.
just out.
No, it's on the street.
It comes and goes. He's had it for sale for a couple of years now, and he's never sold it. He had the truck for
But
sale.
there was two little boys. I saw the one. and he
That's
got
his
to the
grandkids
side,
he's babysitting.
And then, as I started down, here was this kid on another bike, and I couldn't see him beyond the boat. He was right behind, in front of the boat. So I'm just wondering, even if he parks on the hill, you still can't come down and make a turn,
Yeah.
because if you go out in the street, somebody come up, they're gonna hit you head on.
With the kids being there, this has only been, I think, recently. I don't think they were there in the past. when he
No,
had
he's-
that.
they're his
He's had it.
grandkids. He's
He has his boat and his truck out there parked, and it makes it difficult when you come down that street to see. And I noticed, a couple of days ago that those kids were out, one of them's out in the middle of the street with a tricycle, and then there's a couple other kids, and I agree with you, but what can we do?
Well, let me ask you something, Kurt. Isn't there a driveway next to his house?
If you park it, yes.
That's Rachel.
Tracy Land's place.
But there's still room, because when Georgie lived there, she parked her car.
I can ask him if there's a way he can pull into that driveway.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
That driveway belongs to
Lane.
Rachel.
Land, Rachel.
Yeah. She's parked in there before,
Does Rachel park in it?
Yeah, there's a car, there's one or two cars truck in there a lot of the time. I mean, there's room for three,
Oh, okay.
but it's her property, so I don't know, you have to go through her.
Okay.
And I know he's tried to sell that for the last 2 years. He had for sale sign on that, and both had his truck. Had no luck.
There's a second boat that's in behind the house. I wonder who that belongs to.
I don't know.
Where we tore Allen's house down right there?
Between Allen's house and his house on the
Yeah,
town.
yeah, somebody's got a boat parked there.
Just a fishing boat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a fishing boat.
That come on our
I
patio.
think that might be his too.
It is.
Okay, let's see what he has to say. Danny, you have anything today?
I have a couple comments about a couple of things that are on the agenda. The one about getting the health commissioner. That's something in our old 1915 charter, and I was wondering why, of all the different issues that we have, why do you suddenly pick one sort of random issue that we suddenly need to fulfill the requirements of the charter? And we've been talking about
We're
the
trying
charter
to knock
needs to
them
be done.
off a couple at a time. Can you
Yes,
just-
well, I see what you mean by that, but then did we look into if we really need a health commissioner? In 1915, I looked it up, in 1915 there barely was a health department in the state. And Mineral County Health Department only just got started around it. And I really think that there's Mineral County Health Commissioner, whose job is probably, covers anything that a local health commissioner would do. I don't know of any other towns that have a local health commissioner.
What do you mean by a Mineral County health official?
The Mineral Department of Health.
Yeah, they do have somebody.
Right, they do. So they're wanting to appoint one to our Piedmont Council because our old 1915 charter, town charter, says that we're supposed to have a health commissioner on board here. But that was from 110 years ago.
Why would we need one?
That's my question. That's exactly what I'm asking now. Is why would we need a health commissioner?
I just call it health.
Well,
We have, she knows about the health department, there's a state health department. I was wondering if any of you checked that with the health department and asked them and said, our old charter here says we need a health commissioner. Do we need that anymore? Is that something, well, that seems like something that we probably don't need, and you might want to table that till later. So that's really all I had to say about that, and she seemed to agree on that.
but then
The other
again,
thing,
if you look into it,
mhm,
the housing authority, not so much over there, but
mhm.
in order for us to be able to do anything, one of the requirements is you have to have a health inspector involved.
Inspector?
Well, there's a
or
difference between
Yeah.
a commissioner and an inspector.
Big difference, big difference.
Lois Hartman, who's our local clinician,
Mhm.
and who is far above a healthcare, or not a healthcare, a health department, whatever. She's got a lot more say. She's got the backing of WVU. So this is an actual, she's good for endemics, pandemics, whatever. This is an appointed, non-paid, basically volunteer position, and I feel that we do need one.
Did we check though with the health department on any of that?
No, I checked with the charter.
So, but the charter is old, and the health
Right.
department has come into existence since that charter was written.
Right, I see what you're
And
saying.
when we do ordinances, when we create ordinances, there is some research that needs to be done before things like that are changed or adopted. The fact that that's in the charter really doesn't mean anything. That's an old charter. In fact, I remember when Betsy Rice was the clerk many years ago, I remember looking at the town charter, and it had a date of in the 80s, I believe, that somehow we lost that copy. We don't seem to have the more recent charter. There's at least one revision since 1915. I know it, and I think you guys do too. That we kind of remember seeing it around. Paul's shaking her head no, but I've been paying attention to this kind of stuff ever since I've lived here.
Okay.
And there's a newer version of the charter that somehow has been misplaced. That's why I've been adamant about let's not jump to doing everything in the charter until we really go through it and see
Well, when it's shoved down your throat, then you turn around, you want to try to,
where is it shoved down our throat.
I'm not going into that situation. That was shoved down my throat several times.
About not having a health commission.
You're not doing this right, you're not doing this by the charter, you're not doing that by the
Right.
charter.
So
It's
the
been shoved
answer,
down my throat so many times, we're trying to
okay.
play catch
So
up.
the answer to that though isn't to just suddenly start fulfilling outdated terms from an outdated charter. The answer is we need to review this charter and we need to talk to people like the health department before we go off, without being fully informed and appoint a commissioner. But it's an unpaid
It's
thing.
not
You're
a
welcome to
commissioner.
go, or the health, what's it called now? The health inspector or something like that. So I would also recommend after you pass this and it's in place, well, I'll be able to check on it. I'll check on it as being a member of the council. I'll take on that task. I'll assign myself the task of getting hold of someone in the health department and discussing that with them and see if it's really needed.
Well, in my time I've been mayor, I have been on their health board also, so it was kind of
On whose health board?
WVU.
On their health board, okay.
Yeah, so that's more or
So-
less what she's gonna be aboard.
So it's the WVU health board, but we have a county health board
Okay,
that
then,
has
don't take the
jurisdiction
dead
over us.
horse and yeah,
WVU
gotcha.
health board has jurisdiction over WVU facilities. I'm just suggesting that you haven't fully researched it. I'm going to research it, and we will be talking about this more at future meetings,
Okay.
just so you know. And there's one other thing that needs to be talked about too, that's in this ordinance that you're about to adopt on the nuisance ordinance, which is all fine and good. We do need things like that. as I mentioned to Rhonda before, most of this is covered by the International Building Code and the International Code
Yes.
of Property Management Code that have been not only adopted by the town of Piedmont, but a few years ago they were made mandatory for all towns, that even if we hadn't adopted it, it would still be applicable. And legally, we don't need to have anything that duplicates that. And again, about research, I think that this, if we went through this, we'd find out that a lot of it is redundant. And we don't really need to have it in an ordinance when it's already encoded in state law. That the things to do with ordinances are things that add or change, modify state law, that instead of having to read this whole thing and have this whole long ordinance that you have to now keep track of and keep on file, we've already adopted those codes. And this really, it doesn't add much, so that's my opinion on that. And there's one other issue really, I'll go through quickly because I don't want to take up a lot of time. But there are two things in here where, with building materials and unlicensed vehicles, where they say people can have those as long as they're kept in a structure, like a garage or a building. And I'd say that, that's just part of the wording that you've just copied from wherever this ordinance came from. And that's not really, it doesn't really fit the needs of Piedmont, because most people in Piedmont don't even have a storage shed, much less a garage. And if they have a vehicle that they're restoring or trying to get going, it might take, as we know, things can take a few years to do projects. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't be keeping it in the street. We all agree on that. But this basically requires people in Piedmont to have a garage if they want to have a pile of boards in their yard, or a pile of roofing material that they're working on their roof. This ordinance would require that they keep that in the garage. And a tarp, it even says specifically that a tarp is not good enough. So I just think that this doesn't fit the needs of our town at this time. This is something that is from, I don't know how to put it, it's from towns that have already solved a lot of their more basic problems and are, I lived in a town in Colorado that had a similar ordinance, and they were happy with tarping a vehicle that wasn't being used. And so for Piedmont to exceed that and say it can't even be tarped, it has to be in a building, I don't think those are kind of discriminatory for people who don't have a lot of property. I keep my vehicles off the street. I do have a vehicle that's not licensed right now, current, but it's off the street, it's on my own property. And I have another one that is inside of a building. And I'm lucky enough, I'm very fortunate to have a couple garages. And they're not big enough to put that truck in. So most people aren't going to have that, and they're going to have a problem with this. And my suggestion is, rather than pass a bunch of ordinances and write people tickets that they're not going to be able to afford to pay, that we should be working on helping people how to get rid of these junk cars, like what Paul did last year or the year before. We should do that twice a year. We should do that as much as we can until that made a dent.
I agree.
That made a dent that you can still see.
Yes.
Do it again,
If it didn't cost
please,
so much,
sir.
I agree with that.
Please do that again. And rather, if you write someone a ticket, that'll end up costing them, by the time they're done with court, $500. They could have bought a cheap shed for that and put their stuff in it.
Well, we got rid of 30 tons of trash on the city streets, so that's a big loss.
That's amazing, and we got to do it again. There's 30 more out there, I guarantee you.
Yeah, there is.
You can afford
So,
to do it again.
those are just my thoughts about this ordinance.
You can afford to do
Again,
it again.
If we can afford to do it again, yeah.
again, you can pass this, whatever you'd like to do. My suggestion would be to table it for future discussion. But if it's passed, it's not going to harm anything. It's mostly a duplication of the state codes. But those couple sections in there that say tarping shall not constitute a storage structure for the purposes of this section. That's pretty harsh for Piedmont, I just have to say. So that's just my opinion, and I'm speaking for, not just for myself, but for other citizens in town. That's all I have.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes to accept as written. Correspondence?
Yes, I have two. First one is from Gephardt, McMullen, Hay, and Getty. Dear Mayor, please be advised that this office represents the mayor and commissioners of Westernport. I'm writing to give notice that the city of Piedmont is in breach of the provisions of the raw water purchase agreement dated January 5th, 2025. A copy of the agreement is enclosed. Specifically, Piedmont has failed to abide by Section 3, Part C and D of the agreement, which state, notwithstanding the above, under no circumstances shall purchaser be entitled to purchase an amount of water that will cause supplier to exceed its withdrawal limits as defined by the supplier's withdrawal permit issued by the Maryland Department of Environment. To prevent water waste, purchaser will valve off the water interconnect when its treatment plant is not operational except during extended periods of below freezing temperatures. Piedmont has failed to valve off its connection to Westernport's raw water line, allowing water to flow uninterrupted onto the ground. As a result, Maryland has found Westernport to be in violation of its water appropriation and use permit. See enclosed notice of violation letter from Maryland Department of Environment dated June 11, 2025. As noted by the notice of violation letter, Piedmont's water use exceeded the permitted limit of daily average by 247%. In accordance with Section 8, Part G of the agreement, Piedmont has 30 days to cure the breach by reducing its daily water usage, principally by valving off its connection to Westernport's raw water line when the water treatment plant is not in use. If Piedmont fails to cure the breach within 30 days of the date of this letter, Westernport will terminate water service to Piedmont. Furthermore, Westernport reserves the right under the agreement to stop water service to Piedmont when it has reached its maximum permitted limit. Finally, to the extent that Westernport is subject to a monetary penalty due to Piedmont's violation of the agreement, Piedmont will be billed for the amount of the penalty and subject to shut off if the bill is not paid within 30 days. Very truly yours, Michael A. Llewellyn.
Can they do that?
I received that today. That will be forwarded to our attorney. We are allotted 110,000 gallons a day with an exception limit of 150,000 gallons a day. In the winter, they know we cannot shut our water off. If we shut it off up at the Luke Mill, our line will freeze and rupture because it's an exposed line on the bridge. So when it's not freezing, for instance tonight, Joe is up running the plant. When he's done, he has to go to Luke and shut the line off. When we go to start up, we'll have to go to Luke and turn the line back on. What we did, there was a bypass that dumps the water in the ditch when we're not running. It's happened that way for years. The ditch goes back to the river. But if they believe we violated it, then they say they're going to be fined, and they're going to push the fine on the Piedmont, whatever they're fined. So I received that today. It will be sent to our attorney for advisement of how to proceed. When it comes down to it, if we run 8 hours a day, 200 gallons a minute, we'll run 96,000 gallons a day. When we fill the reservoir up, we can shut down for 3 days. And that's what we'll do. We'll shut down for 3 days, then we'll turn it back on and run for 8 to 10 hours, and then we'll shut down for a couple of days. If that's the expectations, that is what we will do. I'll report in the water on some of the details of what we've done to try to eliminate this, to alleviate it. That's correspondence number 1. Correspondence number 2. We had sent a FOIA request to Westernport. This is their response. We are in receipt of your correspondence dated May 12, 2025, which seeks a broad array of records under the Public Information Act code number. As you are aware, Westernport went under a significant flash flood on May 13, 2025, which resulted in the Governor of Maryland declaring Westernport a state of emergency. Among other buildings impacted was our town hall, where most of the records you seek are kept. We currently were able to move back into the town hall and are now beginning the process of responding to your request. I'm writing to advise you that it will take us a significant amount of time to produce the records. We expect it will take between 150 to 200 hours to retrieve the specific records you are requesting. We estimate that our response will generate a fee between $6,000 and $8,000, depending on the time and hourly rates of the individual staff and attorneys who must conduct the review, and with the first 2 hours provided free of charge. As you have requested only electronic copies of documents, there would be no copy charge. Attached is an email I sent to the mayor and town attorney detailing the work that will be involved in retrieving and reviewing the records you seek. Upon review of that email, you may wish to contact my office to discuss narrowing the scope of your request. Otherwise, please communicate whether you wish to proceed with this request. Given the cost and staff time involved, we are requiring that you deposit $3,000 to the town before we begin retrieving your records. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions regarding the town's processing of your request. We had requested annual reports for 2021, 22, 23, and 24. I can tell you I can get them within 20 minutes electronically if they're requested out of Piedmont. They're on record. All this profit loss, all this will be in QuickBooks to do every account. QuickBooks would take me about an hour to print. Current balance on water line surcharge bonds. I have this on hand because I've already given this to him multiple times. I have physical bank statements from 2018 until now. I would have to go through every bank statement to find where the payment would have came from. These payments were not always made from the water line surcharge account. For other bank records, we would have to pay the bank for them. I'll get an estimate. Just to find these charges, I would estimate 40 hours for me doing that nonstop. List of all the maintenance done on the raw water line since 2021, including invoices and proof of payment. Our invoices are kept alphabetically by the vendor and not sorted by maintenance or memo. I would have to go through all the vendor's record to find this. List of all the bondholders of the water line surcharge. When they refinanced, they went through bonds, and we requested who the bondholders were. I don't have access or records of this. I'm assuming we would ask Wilmington Trust, but since they are a private entity, they would have to give us that. Would they have to give us that information? This will also be forwarded to Jason Sykes for how we will respond.
Who sets these prices? These
City
charges?
of, that letter came from Laura Legg, City Administrator for Westernport. So we will proceed how our attorney recommends we proceed. I've already talked to him. I will have a direct discussion with the Maryland Ethics Commission. He says he can't do that. That should come through the town. I have no trouble having that discussion with them to see what their response is. Everyone knows it's no secret that my argument has been all along. What they charge Piedmont, as we were told, to cover the surcharge for the raw water line does not go all to the raw water line. That's my complaint. I have no issue paying our per portion for the raw water line. I do have an issue paying for other projects in Westernport. Number 1 and 2, water phase, rebuild on your water plant. The residents of Piedmont should not be fitting that bill. They told us they can do with the money as they please. That will not be my call. That will be someone much smarter and higher up than me.
This is unbelievable.
I find it very disappointing. After they had their flood, we sent our workers over, our equipment over. We let them come over and fill tankers, endless amounts of tankers to take water to Westernport that we're paying for. But they don't see that. And they used our water to fill their vac trucks to clean over there. And they thank Coney for letting them use their office. I don't quite understand. Very disappointing.
Well, I think if you remember, I don't think the mayor came and got that, requested that. That was Tim Jackson, right?
What's that?
For you, use the water for the pumping thing.
Tim Jackson and Tim Dayton called and said, hey, we need water
It's
over here
still
because
the
we...
town of Western.
I know, but it wasn't the officials comment. We just have to keep that in mind. I mean, they wouldn't, but they said somebody else in their place come over and request it. And because Tim has worked with us in the water treatment plant,
I mean,
we were gonna
do
probably
you
say
think
yes.
the right people are aware of what happened? I mean, the people helping them?
I directly called Judy Hamilton May 13th and said, I'm so sorry about the devastation you're going through. I am sending my workers and any equipment you need over. And if you saw that Bradley Bell thing on TV, on the news, you saw our truck, City of Piedmont, driving mud. They know. But they still want to charge us $10,000 a month for mud water.
These two communities have always worked together. It's very, very sad.
It is very sad.
Well, just make sure you understand one thing. This is a few causing this problem.
Right.
I have no issue with most of the residents in Westernport. I don't hear a thing out of them. I hear some of them saying, why are they doing this to you? But there's a couple, and I won't mention names, there's a couple that they're running down a rabbit hole, and people won't stand up. And the statement that bothers me more than any is they said, I have to listen to what my attorney says. And I know everybody has their faults, but I can tell you Jason Seitz, the first thing he tells me, I work for you. You don't work for me. You tell me what you want. I'm not telling you what you want. It isn't that way. So,
Okay, let's move on to reports. Rhonda?
Okay, well, I'll run down through the guys list first. They did some tree cutting along Aaron Street and then on the back road on Harrison because that's been used a lot. It's got the brush off of that. We had a ditch that was up more like Frederick Street extended, if that's what you want to call it. With all the rain, it was starting to cause some flooding issues on Harrison. They got that cleaned out. Now it's okay. They changed out 5 broken meters, water meters. Did some maintenance repair on the backhoe, cut grass, of course, and pretty much just clean up. This flood hadn't been kind to us. Hampshire Street, that repair is done to the extent that they can do it. Like I mentioned before, they had $20,000 for material. So with that amount of money allotted, they were able to fix about half of it. So it was real bad on the east end where the washout started, and then it got progressively less and less and less down towards the bottom. So they started east, worked west, got about halfway down. So the foam can, I know you weren't here the last time, they reinforced the road with rebar to begin with, straight down. And then what they had was a foam that come out liquid, that they were able to shoot back in there. It filled in all the crevices and nooks and crannies. Then it hardens to like a concrete, so it's fiber reinforced foam. State Road's able to blacktop, cold patch, hot patch, whatever they want to do over top of it. So from where they stopped, you know, the washout part had been covered, but I guess they wanted to do the rest for insurance. So they won't be able to do that until they get more money. This was not a state road job. They contracted it out to a company called Eurotech. So for right now, they're done.
Why wouldn't it be a state road job?
They contracted it out. So it's not like it was a state road job, obviously, because it's Route 46, but they contracted out to a different company to come and do it. Dogs, we're still having issues with dogs in town. I'll bring that up because they're running on the streets. We've had another dog bite. We've got loose dogs, we've got aggressive dogs. I spent a lot of time on the phone last week with Missy, our animal control officer. She's been up here, Rick's been up here, and you know, I just don't understand why people are still allowing their dogs to run, but they are on the streets. I don't think maybe it would be a bad idea in the future to have Missy come up and address at a council meeting exactly what your rights are, or somebody who's about to be attacked by a loose dog. But I think it's something that everybody needs to know. So just be aware, if your dog is running loose and they pick it up, it's going. If it's loose, they will pick it up and it's going. It's ridiculous. And that's about it. We're going back to Hampshire Street just for a second, with 135 being closed down. And increased traffic through Piedmont on Hampshire Street. The people coming through aren't used to driving it. They're ignoring the yield to oncoming traffic signs. It's miserable to try to get up that street. So I would say just use an extra amount of caution. I've just started going, sorry Kay, up Gordon, out Harrison, on to Aaron, down Murphy, and just bypass all of it. Because we've got trucks with trailers when they're heading east towards Kaiser. They pay no attention, they just barrel up the street. They yield no right of way. So you're at this point kind of taking your life in your hands. So that's the only little addendum to Hampshire Street.
Not only that, Ron, but if you'll notice going down from Piedmont to Kaiser, on the side of the hill, there are a lot of huge boulders that there's not much left underneath of them. Sooner or later, you have the next hard rain, you're going to find them in the middle of the road. And I mean, they're huge.
Yep.
All you have to do is go down and look.
We go that way every day now.
Yeah, I just mentioned that because eventually, next hard rain, something's going to happen down there on 146.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. I'm surprised it hadn't happened
So what
already.
is our report? Say Maryland's closed, West Virginia's closed. What happens to the people in Piedmont? How do we get out?
We don't.
Well, what did they do with the bridge up by Luke? Can you not cross that?
Is that still
Did they
open?
open that?
I don't think Jack has it open to the public, but if it came to that, he would probably open it to the public.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's privately owned now.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, Jack and Russo, when he bought the property, that included the wooden bridge to the loop property.
But then how did you get, I mean, say he did open it and we can go across it? How do we go?
There would have to be notification from him that it's open for, temporary.
You'd have to go through, completely through the property.
Parking lot?
You'd have to go through his property,
Right,
parking lots, around the storeroom, around the warehouse.
onto the bridge, over into the,
Me personally, I walked on the bridge because our water line's on it. I'm driving too many cars on it.
It's always one at a time, isn't it?
Yeah,
fortunately, as long as the bridge is there, we can
yeah.
go up towards, Martin and Midland and Lonacone, we have a way out.
If
Might
it's
be
not flooding.
inconvenience for people, but we guess.
Yeah.
So what's the way out there?
Yep, as long as the bridge is open, you can just go on up past the Western Port, the Legion,
Yeah, you go across.
and go to
Oh,
Crossroads.
okay,
I mean,
okay.
it may be longer for some people,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
up until that, at least we have a way out.
Yeah. You just go to Martin,
I wonder if we have any extra speed limit signs on the guy.
Probably.
Maybe we can put some up
Probably.
Because a lot of people that are traveling that now, they have no idea what the speed limit is, and they're flying.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it myself, and I'm getting calls too. Even going up by my house.
I mean, we can put
Going
some,
down Fairview Street.
not to sound like the eternal pessimist, but they don't pay attention to the ones we have up
Well, I
there.
know.
But we can put more on.
And that's one other thing, Ron, I want to mention the 25 mile per hour on West Fairview Street.
Yeah,
Trees are growing down, the limbs are covering them up,
okay.
so people are not going to be able to see them now. The one at Kenny House Hill, that one's okay, but the other two out, the
Okay.
guys need to look at them coming up and then also look at them coming down where they can see, especially up there on the cones. You cannot see that.
Okay.
And that one's bent over anyhow. And just like Kay said, you're, and I've noticed that you're getting more kids on West Fairview Street and Dundee Street than we've had in the past. And if you look at the sidewalks up there, the sidewalks are not fit for bicycles or tricycles to be on. So you're seeing more and more of them out in the road. I've yelled at kids, I don't know how many times, months ago, they get to the top of, my hill, and they'll take off down that hill as fast as they can go on their bicycles. And if somebody's coming up and they're going 35 or 40 mile an hour, they're not going to be able to stop. There's
Right.
going to be one bad accident.
I agree. Is that all you have?
That's it.
Paul?
Just a couple things. I know a couple weeks ago I talked about, wanted to recognize some of our property owners in town that are maintaining their properties. To me, I think that's really important, and I think it needs to be put in the water bill. I brought that up a couple weeks ago. And I think we need to start it out and recognize these two folks that are sitting right here, Kurt and Angela. You've done a beautiful job with your property up there. It's beautiful. You maintain it, you're out there every single day, cutting grass, doing something, but you're maintaining your property. And to me, that's what it's all about in the town. I mean, you're not the only one, but I think that we need to start right here and there and start with you guys. And thank you guys for what you've done. That's for me, and I hope these other guys agree with me. Thank you guys for what you've done, the work that you put in. Your place makes that into Fairview Street beautiful. And you should be recognized. I wish I had something to give you, I don't. The only thing I can give you is a thank you, and unless these guys got some other kind of idea, that's my idea.
You can give them a big hug.
Well, I might do that too, I might
Yeah.
give you a big hug. But I thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you for helping to make Piedmont a nicer place for all of us to live in. I think that's what it's all about.
Julie was cutting the grass, it was raining, a light rain. I said, get that lawnmower put away, people go by it, think you're nuts.
We want to do like a property of the month in the new fund?
I think, yes, I think property of the month or something like that, but.
I don't have a problem with it, I agree with you. But we need to make sure that the people know that we're gonna recognize somebody every month or every so often, because you got a lot of other people in Piedmont that do their fair share, so we don't wanna miss anybody, and we don't wanna take anybody off, and all of a sudden, well, there's another blighted property we have to deal with.
Right.
We try to get to everybody, but, we gotta start somewhere. And in my mind, my opinion, I think we start right there and go from here. That's it. We'll talk about this code thing.
Well, it's down under open
Okay,
business.
all right. That's all I have.
Terry?
You look around and some of the properties that we tore down, grass is starting to come up, it's starting to, look relatively well. But there are a few places in town where, trees need to be cut as they're coming out over the street where Spreebo's property used to be right above the
Yeah,
school house.
there's one on Borden Street that's really bad.
Yeah, there's a couple places that we own those properties and unfortunately given the worker something to do, but they need to come down because it's blighted.
That might be a good time to get that chipper in here. Because we have free use of the chipper. We just have to go get it.
You could, but they're not, yeah, we agreed we could use that, didn't we?
Yeah, we signed that
Yeah,
paper.
I think with the amount of stuff, I think it's chipper worthy.
And look around and see where the places are in
Yep.
town and let them go around and get all that stuff cleaned up one day.
Yeah, it's trailer mounted.
Yeah,
So you can leave it hooked to the truck and just drag it to the next place that you need to go.
right. We did agree that we wanted to use it, so.
Yeah, we signed that agreement.
And it's just over in what, Moorefield, Petersburg, something like that. So it doesn't have to be
We have it for
unlimited.
a day or 2 days.
We just have to request it. We can keep it for a limited amount of time, but it's not like one day. But yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Me?
You're still up, yeah?
Yeah.
Just before I start giving you the finance situation, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Paula for everything that she's done as being a town council person, being the mayor of Piedmont, and operating the Piedmont Library, and doing everything that she's done for the Piedmont Alumni Association when she's not even a graduate of Piedmont High School. And everything that she's done to raise money for the Piedmont swimming pool and every damn thing else that she's done in this town and has got no recognition for it.
Yep.
She's got more grief than anybody that I know of, and she's still stuck with it.
Yep.
So it's just a small token of my appreciation, Paul, but I want to give you this thank you. There's something else in it. Thank you for everything you've done.
I second that too.
Yep.
This is a lady, but she's done everything that Mr. LaRuba said over there and more. Somebody busted her car windows. She didn't deserve that.
Nope.
Both vehicles, she owned 2 vehicles and somebody busted both windows.
Both windshields.
Same day, yes.
Yep. Same day.
We do this to try to help the town and better the town, not for something like that.
Right.
She didn't deserve that, and she still kept on going, kept on coming. But she could. Just like what Mr. LaRue said, all these days, she has worked tirelessly for that swimming pool. I don't know where that pool would be if Paula had not done what she has done to raise money. It needs to be said.
Yep. And that's no small
That's swimming
thing.
pool.
It's not like she has it catered. She
Yep,
buys the
that's right.
food. She seasons the food. She fixes the food.
Yep.
She has what, you have 2 volunteers? Yeah. She puts up the plates. She makes the dessert. She makes sure everybody has what they want. And everybody raves about these meals, but yet all you hear is negative, 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 negative.
Negative.
Trust me, if somebody asked me to cook one of those meals, everybody'd be hungry. We'd be having pizza. Probably cold pizza. So yeah, none of us are perfect, but Paula definitely, you deserve a lot of accolades.
And I hope you're able to go on that river over there at the club, so you and your family and Bill are graduating with, and enjoy yourself.
Just don't fall too far down the road.
Yeah, we'll find you.
But you deserve it, Paula.
Okay, financial report, general account, we have $18,422.98. That's the available balance we have. The water account, $13,067.31. The sewer account, $6,159.24. Parks and Rec remains the same as it did 2 weeks ago. The swimming pool's up a couple $1,000, $5,775.20. The 941 account, there's nothing in it. The fire department grant we have to keep, it's only got 42 cents in it. The security deposits is $4,675.42. Coal severance tax remains the same. Pearl Street repairs remains the same. The excess levy is up a little bit from the last time, $2,111.98. Water improvement project, there's nothing in it. The water CWCR account, $6,737.95. The sewer CWCR account's the same. The West Virginia GoPay account, zero. Renewal and replacement account's the same. Police account, $4,185.66. The opioid account is the same, and the water sewer depreciation account, $1,037.31.
Great.
First of all, we'll be doing our CSO combined sewer overflow report. I'm going to have to call the DEP because we're supposed to monitor how much comes out of the combined sewer overflow. Problem is, the first flood, the combined sewer overflow pipe was underwater, so I don't know how I'm supposed to report that. I'll talk to them. The only thing we're working on are Bobcat has a left joystick issue. We're getting prices on that to get them replaced. As mentioned before, we opened the bids for the well project 6/25 next Wednesday. See where we're going. We did discover an issue at the paper mill when they tied into Westernport's line where it feeds into Piedmont. They did not put any mechanism in to keep the water from backflowing towards the filter plant. Well, they had a rupture in their line at the filter plant, so that means we was having water going both directions. We have remedied that problem. The guys, Joe Harvey, Rick Mayhew, and the work crew did a wonderful job severing the line, plugging it so everything from Westernport will come to Piedmont and it cannot backflow to the mill. We do believe we might have a small leak on that line. We had Alan Marchin, our representative from RCAP, to come in, and with his listing equipment, we are going to call in Burtis McRae from West Virginia Rural Water. This is the best leak detector in the state, to verify that before we start trying to repair it. Needless to say, we don't want to put a whole lot of money in the raw water line waiting on the wells, because that's all going to be obsolete once we do it. As far as the report, that's it. I would like to take a minute, first of all, to thank everyone on the council, Paul, Rhonda, Terry, Bev, and Paula, for the privilege of serving you guys for the last 5 or 6 years. I do not consider it a right, it is a privilege to represent anybody, and I want to thank you for that. Liz, you've done me great. It don't go unnoticed. If you get a chance, go to the swimming pool. If it happens to be open when it ain't raining, there is a very nice dedicated monument over there to Elvira Amoruso that Paula placed there in memory of her for everything she did for the pool. Sharon, thank you for being there for what I've needed. I do want to apologize for things I did not get accomplished that needed accomplished. We did what we could. Of course, wish we could have done more. The next 12 days are going to be busy, trying to get a few things done, cosmetic, painting the pump shed. I do apologize for not getting that done. I can't thank Paul enough. Of course, mine and Paula's personal joke is she told me, all you got to do is come to 2 meetings a month. Well, it's been a little more than that. But again, thank you for giving me that opportunity. And most importantly, I want to thank the residents of Piedmont. It's just like I said about Westernport. The few people that scream so loud, it sounds like everybody's screaming. That's not the case. There's a lot of good people in Piedmont. A lot of good people.
Yes, there is.
And I appreciate those that have been there for me. Now, I will be around for the well project, but I do want to wish the incoming council best wishes, including Denny as he comes on board, to let everyone know any assistance I can be for information, catch you up on where we're at. That's not a problem. I will be here and be available, and we'll keep the council, of course, and the mayor up to date on where the well project is and how things are progressing. Thank you.
Greg, how long are they gonna let the bids out for?
The bids will be in 25th. We're opening the bids.
Okay.
And then, because they got two different timelines, and I'd have to go back and look. One of them, they got 180 days to get the job done. Another, they got, I think, 120. We've talked to them. I have requested any of the contractors, and I think we had 11 contractors here. There was 18 people, but 11 contractors. Anyone who can give us a bid that they're willing to start on both sides of the raw water line and meet in the middle, very doable. It would be greatly appreciated. We can, again, I've said it before, we can run the water plant on the well water line. We don't have to wait on the tank. It'll be much more convenient when the tank's in. But we can start up as soon as the well is up and running. That's it.
Okay, open business. Lois Hartman is the health person.
I do think it would be in our best interest to have Lois here as a health commissioner. I do appreciate Mineral County Health Department, AJA, and John Del Signor, all those. Lois, of course, is an advanced practice practitioner. She is accessible to us all the time. The other folks cover the county. Lois practices in Piedmont. She would be somebody that we could reach out to immediately because she doesn't cover the whole county. So I would still like to have a motion to make her appointed as our health commissioner.
And I don't want to have too much involvement, obviously, as a lame duck.
Yeah.
I think one of the other agendas is the intent to go in and look at the charter.
Yeah, but that's going to be a long, drawn-out process, right? Because there's so
I'm
many-
just curious, and I'm not saying I agree, disagree.
Right. I mean, I don't,
If you're going to do that, is it better to leave everything open until you reach that point of, revising it? I've lived 6 years without
yeah,
the health commissioner.
I've lived a
So
lot of
is it-
years with it too, but I also kind of echo Paula. When people start nitpicking, and that's an easy one to find and nitpick. Again, it's appointed, non-paid. Lois is a great resource.
I'm not doubting Lois's.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
I got that.
if the whole intent is to revise the charter, then revise the charter. I understand, and trust me, Paul, I understand the nitpicking.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been one to respond to it, or I might have had different comments after the correspondence I wrote.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let them change who I am,
Right. Right.
No.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion. And if we get to the point where we see fit that it's not necessary, we can easily come back and say, well, we don't need her. There were a couple other things that I had questions about.
Right.
that there was a need for a health officer or whatever.
Mhm.
Until we get that straightened out. Jenny mentioned the charter goes back to 1880 or whatever. It ain't gonna get changed overnight.
Right, it's gonna be a long drawn out
It's gonna
process.
be a long, drawn-out process.
Right.
So, it's up to the rest of you. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and appoint her. It's a non-paying position. You see fit.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I guess I would request an amendment to the motion that says, with the understanding that it is one of the issues that it will be reviewed with the charter.
That's fine, whatever.
You know, that way, I think it sounds like everything's gonna be an issue,
It probably will.
you know, with the
If
charter.
we let it be. You know, at some point, you gotta draw a line in the sand and say, this is what we're doing.
Right,
Or, you know.
absolutely. I have no trouble seconding on that amendment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor
Aye.
With the amendment.
with the amendment?
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the second reading of the nuisance ordinance.
Thank God it's one paragraph. So this is the ordinance, second reading, so it says in accordance with the authority granted to West Virginia's municipalities to address and remediate nuisances by West Virginia Code Sections 8-12-5, 22 and 16-3-6, the city of Piedmont hereby ordains that no person shall erect, contrive, cause, maintain, or permit to exist any public nuisance within the city of Piedmont or within the police jurisdiction of the city.
Okay, the second reading has been done. Need a motion to accept the second reading?
Can I ask for clarification on one thing?
Sure.
All the other ordinances, we maybe do 3 readings.
We can do three.
This over, I guess this general one, probably supersede everything else that we have. And that's another thing we'll have to go back through. The
No, but I meant the reading of the ordinance. All the rate increases and that,
Yeah, to do
we
three.
get 3 readings. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just telling you we're on the
Kaiser
second.
did two, but we can do three. We'll just draw it out another 2 weeks. That's fine.
What are we supposed to, is it supposed to be 3?
No.
Is it 3 or is it just 2?
Somewhere I have, don't have it with me, but unless it's a financial amendment or whatever, or an ordinance, I think you only now need two readings. The first reading, which you read it.
Yours is always money to do. Yeah.
And like a couple of you guys, Greg, they required you to have 3 readings. Somewhere in my notes, when I first came on, Betsy Weiss had written down or something, I remember thinking that you only needed 2 readings of an ordinance.
So this would be it on this ordinance, we'd be accepting this ordinance.
Motion? Okay, then we have no motion on it?
Has anybody made a motion? I think this was primarily taken from the city of Kaiser, right?
Correct.
Yes.
I know there's a lot in comments that Danny made about building codes. Again, my whole problem with all these ordinances, and I'm not opposed to this one, encompasses a lot of them. We don't have anybody to enforce them.
Yep.
And that's where we have been, and it's gonna be that way until we can find something to rectify the problem, that the ordinances are on the books and they need to be enforced. You can can go around town any day, any time. You'll see people that are parked on the red lines, people that are parked on the wrong side of the road. Then he talked about, you know, people not having garages, but some of these people have had junk cars
Mm-hmm.
for decades
Yep. Junk cars.
on town streets,
dilapidated
and they
buildings.
won't move them, and I don't give a damn, they're never gonna repair it.
Yep. Well, I mean, what it'll come down to is this isn't really building codes. I don't care. But I hear a lot of people from the east end, from the west end, saying we want these cleaned up. So you try to get an ordinance through that'll clean them up, and you're right as far as the enforcement goes for right now. But either you want to make progress to clean it up, or you want to stay status quo. That's what it comes down to.
I know item number 3, the code enforcement officer, I'd like to know where we stand with that.
Well, we'll get to that next.
Okay, before I make a motion to do anything with the ordinance, not that I'm opposed to it.
Oh, I got you, I got you.
Do I just take it then?
Can we table it till, or can we move it down till after we find out about what we got with the code enforcement
We
officer?
can do whatever you want to do.
Well, I'd like to hear about that because it's going to be something, you know, written down, we stuck it in a book, and that's where it's going to stay.
Yeah, you're
Well, you
right.
can table it to the next meeting if you like.
I think that's what we're able to do.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Ron?
That's fine, it's still going to be here.
Okay.
So for the folks that have complained to me about the junk cars, the houses with rats, the houses with tarps on the roof, the grass way above their knees, we'll just let them know that we're not going to do anything for a bit.
You have state law. You can write a ticket right now based on that. You don't need an ordinance.
Okay.
You could
Okay.
get a property inspector to come and write a ticket right now.
Okay.
Seriously, please don't just diss me on this.
I didn't dish you.
Okay.
I'd like to hear.
Okay.
I'd like to hear more about it
Okay.
because all we've done.
Robbie Smith can write a ticket right now based on state law. He doesn't need any other permission. He doesn't need to be a code enforcement officer to write tickets for weeds or trash,
Okay.
which are the 2 main problems.
And junk cars.
Junk cars, I think
Junk cars are huge.
that's probably in there too.
Look at the west end of Fairview Street.
So, but you can take care of most of it without the ordinance, so don't
Okay.
despair.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
So the code enforcement will just move to that. We went on the information we had, which was not all the information that we needed, as we found out afterwards. So we need to rescind that vote to have Mr. Bruce come up here until we get 100% of the information. And we need to learn to ask a lot more questions and not just take for granted what people tell us.
That's not all of it. I think we currently, and I agree with Denny's saying back here, Robbie is, and he feels like he is our code enforcement officer right now. I know we've done a bad job there, we haven't, gotten that done, but I think we need to give Robbie the opportunity to do what he is supposed to be doing. And if that doesn't pan out, then we post this and we get somebody in here. But I think, that's just my opinion. We can disagree.
Yeah, I would like to have
But,
somebody from out of town.
Well, I would too, but I know how Robbie feels about it. I know he feels like he is currently able to do that job. And we're laying it out here a little bit better, what we want done, what should be done.
Mhm.
And I think we give him the opportunity to let him go ahead and do what, and if that doesn't pan out,
What's the length of opportunity? Because
well,
it's had years.
whatever we decide, It's the way it is. We personally, we can do that.
Our part-time call,
Yeah.
Personally, I don't have a problem with Robbie. Paul, I've sat here for 4.5 years. And he refuses to do the things that we need to have done. If you want to give him another opportunity, you give him maybe 3 more months or 6 more months, and we have to move on.
Well, that's all I'm saying. That's,
These
we can set a
cost
date, we
about
can set a time, we
$17,000
can,
or $18,000 a year. And he does some things behind the scenes,
Mhm.
but we need somebody to be visible, to let people know that the ordinances are gonna be enforced, or you're gonna pay a fine.
I agree with that 100%.
And if that doesn't happen, then this town's not gonna get any better, even after all the work you put in to get rid of those
I
houses.
agree-
those
I
properties.
agree with it.
There's still so much that has been left unchecked for
Right.
not years, for decades.
Yep.
It's just all built up, and now we don't have any control over anything.
And it has
I
to
agree
be,
with it, and we can still change it. Again, I set a time limit,
and it has
and
to
we give
be,
him an opportunity. And if that doesn't pan out, then we take the proper steps.
and it has to be even.
And I
It
mean,
has to be even. Not, well, no, well, no. You know what I'm saying?
and I think that when we have new officers come in July, that Rhonda or the council needs to sit down with Robbie and say, this is the expectations. And if you don't fulfill the expectations that the council and the mayor has, we're gonna have to terminate. So much goes on that it's as bad as Westernport and Luke, and they don't have any police officers. At least we have one.
Yeah, kind of.
So back to my first question about the guy speeding. Is Robbie the one I need to go to?
You can.
Okay. When's he on?
We
Is
work
he in a
with
schedule?
4 days a week. He works with, the state road, state highway, state police. So he's not in town most of the time during the week.
Right.
Because I am going to slow that guy down. And he has to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot continue that fast. He cannot, because he is going to kill a child on Harrison Street.
Is he going up Gordon Street, Kay?
Beg your pardon?
Is he going up Gordon Street?
He starts at Clearview Street,
What?
up to Harrison Street.
But he goes up Gordon Street.
Yeah, he goes up Gordon Street. And it is unbelievable. Now, my husband has had a stroke, and he even knows that's wrong. He knows, he hears it, and he'll say, who is that? Well, that's our neighbor up on the corner, a block out.
Do you know the name of the person?
I do not know. All I know is that he lives in the house where Mr. and Mrs. Sanders lived. It's in the Mossy property,
New people.
new people.
Yeah, because he sold that last year.
Yes. One side is vacant now, and
Yeah.
the other side is his family.
And I think that's an LLC or something that came in and bought it.
I have another question.
Well, wait a minute,
Okay.
let's resolve this one. You can find out the person's name. You could give it to Robbie and let him know that it has to stop. If push comes to shove, you think about putting speed bumps or something up Gordon Street.
Get a
That's
license
slow.
number or something like
That's
that.
slowing down.
Get a license number and give it to Robbie.
Right, that's what you need to do. You need to find out what the license number is.
Other than that, I wouldn't,
All you have to do is call the DMV and they'll give you it. And then the person find out who it is. Robbie could go up and talk to him and say, put an end to it. What was the next one, Kay?
Oh, the next one is, when people have property and they bring people in to rent that house, did we not used to have an inspector to go in and inspect that house and say it's okay to rent?
good, never.
Not in.
Out.
Just the outside.
We do an outer inspection, that's it, that's what we're required to do. And that's it, it's not a lot, but that's what we have to do, but nothing on the inside of the place. But I agree with what you're saying, Kay, it should be done, and I've been trying to get that for a long time. Where if you're gonna be a renter in town, that house needs to be inspected from top to bottom, but that's not the way it is in the state of West Virginia.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna get ready to swear in the new council people. I just want to say myself, if I can get through it. With this being my last meeting, I've had the pleasure to work with everybody, and I enjoyed the time I spent with everybody. I hope the new council continues where we left off and keeps Piedmont a place to be proud to live. We've had good times and bad times, but we made it through. I feel we got a lot accomplished. Let's keep it going. Thanks to everybody that helped me out anyway. It was a pleasure being mayor and council for 20-some years I've been here.
No, you're not done.
I gotta swear the officer, Jim.
Not yet. I'm not done. There's one more item on the agenda. It goes to Ed. It goes to Ed. On behalf of us, me, Sharon, Terry, Paul, Greg, Bev, you put up with us for, well, probably longer than you wanted to. You can go ahead and say yes, it's okay. But we want you to know that we have appreciated everything you've done. We appreciate especially everything you've gone through, from the ridiculousness to the good stuff. We do thank you for keeping Piedmont fed during your pool suppers and all those other kind of things. But on behalf of us, just a little token.
Stand up there with him. Get your picture taken. You are standing up, right?
She is. Come in, kneel down. You're good, Eddie.
Thank you.
I'd rather find one with a possum in it. They don't make them.
Do you have an outhouse on all the river?
I got it flushing. I'll get to the mayor first. I'll give you your oath, and then you have to sign, print and sign your name, and then Sharon will notarize it. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications by law
Do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications by law
to hold this office of the city of Piedmont,
to hold this office of the city of Piedmont,
West Virginia,
West Virginia,
and not subject to any disqualifications
not subject to any disqualifications
prescribed therein,
prescribed therein,
and that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and honestly discharge the duties of my office
and honestly discharge the duties of my office
to the best of my skill and judgment.
to the best of my skill and judgment.
So help me God.
So help me God. Let's say a few minutes.
Quiet in the peanut gallery.
Danny?
Come sit there or stand up here or whatever.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
I, Dennis C. Powers,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications by law
that I possess the qualifications by law
to hold this office in the city of Piedmont, West Virginia,
to hold this office for the city of Piedmont, West Virginia,
and not subject to any disqualifications
not subject to any disqualifications
prescribed therein,
described therein,
and that I will support the Constitution of the United
and
States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and honestly discharge the duties of my office
and honestly discharge the duties of my office
to the best of my skill and judgment.
to the best of my skill and judgment.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
Alan T. LaRue,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications by law
that I possess the qualifications by law
to hold this office in the city of Piedmont, West Virginia,
to hold this office in the city of Piedmont, West Virginia,
and not subject to any disqualifications
and not be subjected to any disqualifications
prescribed therein,
described therein,
and that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the great state of West Virginia, so help me
and
God.
honestly discharge
And honestly
the
discharge
duties of my office
the duties of my
to
office
the best of my skill and judgment.
to the best of my skill and judgment,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Bev, will be sworn in at a later date. Is that everybody?
Paul's in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, we gotta get.
You want to go in there, swear him in?
No. Oh, I got your stamp there.
Print it.
Right at the top here.
It's expensive, but I'm worth it.
You gotta get sworn in.
Oh, is that it?
Yep, you're new. You're old, but you're new.
I'm all over.
Yeah, but you still got, it's a new term. I just need to tell you. Raise your right hand. I,
Aye.
Paul Coleman, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications by law
You solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications by law
to hold this office in the city of Piedmont, West Virginia,
to hold this office in the city of Piedmont, West Virginia,
and not subject to any disqualifications
and not subject to any disqualifications
described therein,
described therein,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and honestly discharge the duties of my office
and honestly discharge the duties of my
to
office
the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Put your name on there. Welcome aboard, you guys.
Maybe you want a picture of the whole council, the whole new council. She would like a picture of all of them.
Unless you want to wait till Deb's here.
Yeah, little Bev's here. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be fair.
We still need an adjournment too.
Yeah, I got to do a motion for adjournment. I had to do that before I joined the meeting. Okay. And now I'll take a motion for adjournment.
We'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned, and next one will be July 2nd.